All right, we've got Justine Bateman coming in today. You know her, at least those of you from my vintage know her from Family Ties for sure. She also appeared in Desperate Housewives and Californication. You can follow her on X, Justine Bateman, just like it sounds, and justinebateman.substack.com. She is also responsible for the Credo 23 Film Festival, so you can find out more about that at the Credo, C-R-E-D-O, there it is, Credo 23 Film Festival, .com. And she's been on fire on X lately. She's absolutely cracked me up. So I thought it'd be nice to talk to her and bring her in and see what she's thinking these days. I've always been a fan of hers and her whole family, her brothers. And we'll have at it. Let's see what we got today. And of course, we'll be watching you all on Restream and on the Rumble Rants. Stay with us. Be right with you after this.
Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want to help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
I'm excited to bring you a new product, a new supplement, Fatty. I take it. I make Susan take it. My whole family takes it. This comes out of, believe it or not, dolphin research. The Navy maintains a fleet of dolphins, and a brilliant veterinarian recognized that these dolphins sometimes developed a syndrome identical to our Alzheimer's disease. Those dolphins were deficient in a particular fatty acid. She replaced the fatty acid, and they didn't get the Alzheimer's. Humans have the same issue. And we are more deficient in this particular fatty acid than ever before. And a simple replacement of this fatty acid called C15 will help us prevent these syndromes. It's published in a recent journal called Metabolites. It's a new nutritional C15, pentadecanoic acid it's called. The deficiency that we are developing for C15 creates something called the cellular fragility syndrome. This is the first nutritional deficiency syndrome to be discovered in 75 years and may be affecting us in many ways, and as many as 1 in 3 of us. This is an important breakthrough. Take advantage of it. Go to fatty15.com/Dr. Drew to receive 15% off a 90-day starter kit subscription, or use code Dr. Drew at checkout for that 15% off, or just go to our website, drdrew.com/fatty15. And before we get to Justine, a reminder, it's not too late to gift Cozy Earth this Christmas. Give your loved ones luxury with the bamboo sheet set. Ultimate gift this holiday season, made from 100% premium viscose from bamboo that is soft, breathable. You will sleep several degrees cooler in the summer. And their women's stretch knit pajama set, also made with viscose from bamboo. Timeless classic that keeps your temperature just right all through the night. All the bedding and bath comes with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. But once you experience the comfort of Cozy Earth, you'll never want to go back. Want your Cozy Earth pajamas by Christmas Day? Order by December 13th for free shipping. If you missed it, you can still get expedited shipping until December 20th to ensure it arrives on time. But do not wait. Head to cozyearth.com/Drew now and use the exclusive code Drew for up to 40% off. Give the gift of luxury this holiday season. It's perfect. Go to cozyearth.com/Drew. If you get a post-purchase survey about how you heard about it, let them know that it's from us. One more time, that is cozyearth.com/DREW.
Hint, hint, honey. I need a new pair of pajamas.
That's what I was thinking, strangely enough. Because whatever's in front of me is what I'm thinking about. Speaking of somebody I want to get in front of me, Justine Bateman, again, the Credo23filmfest.com is where you can find about the film festival. Her own ex is Justine Bateman. I suggest you follow. She's been hysterical and on fire lately. A little bit of more data. If you did not become a fan of hers from Family Ties, she was also in Desperate Housewives and Californication. Her directorial debut, Violet, starring Olivia Munn, premiered at the South by Southwest in 2021. She has authored bestsellers, Fame, The Hijacking of Reality and Face, and One Square Foot of Skin. She also is on SAG-AFTRA's AI negotiation committee and has some opinions about that we'll get into. Justine, appreciate you being here. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
So is my memory serving me? Did we meet on K-Rock radio in Burbank some 30 years ago or so? Have we never met?
Sure. K-Rock, KLOS, KMET, there were some good ones.
There was some good ones. So we did meet there, because I have this vague memory of us meeting there, and I'm like, I'm not sure if that's true or not. It's the vagaries of memory. But so thank you for being here. Tell people what you're doing on X. I think it's hysterical, the sort of subtle road into the evaluation of all the wild videos that are being posted on X. That's you, isn't it?
Oh, well, I'm a filmmaker, and so I get curious about particular pieces of work that people are posting online. Because when you post online, you are distributing it internationally. So there's a crying genre that has been posted online for about 6 years or so. So after the election, I noticed there it is again. And I thought, wow, you either were crying really hard and the thought entered your mind that, I got to get my phone, I've got to record this. And then you edited it and then you posted it. Or you thought maybe what I do next on my account is not an unboxing video, but a crying video, and then you set the camera up, and then one way or the other. This is how you set it up. And then I thought, we're many, many years into the creator economy, and yet the videos still have poor production value. So I thought, well, why don't I just talk about the production value of these videos? And it's
so
the
funny.
hashtag social media video critique. And over on my Substack, I've done over like 125 now, I guess. So they're all indexed over there. If there's one that you loved and you want to show a friend and you can't find it, go to that index and you can find it.
They're very funny. A lot of comment on lighting and lighting sources and what the consequence. It is. I don't know if you intend it this way, but I receive it as the most effective use of irony I have come upon in a long time.
Satire. I mean, yeah. If you know how to read satire, then it's for you. It's for you. Yeah.
It is for me. It just jumped. The first time I saw one of your posts, I'm like, huh? I'm like, oh my God, this is hysterical.
Yeah. It'll click in, right? I got it.
Yeah. I got it right away. I wasn't even through the thread before. I was like, oh. It's a great way to talk to these people. But when I say these people, and both the people that are posting these things and the people that are receiving them are enthusiastically endorsing them, what do you think is going on with people? What's your take on what this is?
Society, there's been a pressing down on society for acutely the last 4 years. And I first noticed it start like 8 years ago, where people aren't allowed to say anything. I know you've spoken about this a lot, but people weren't permitted to say anything. They weren't, and there was very little innovation. I mean, someone like Elon Musk got a few things out there. It was kind of a miracle. But a lot of things when you look at the culture, when you look at every era, every decade in the 20th century, you see new things came up. The 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. And around, 2004, 2005, it just kind of sort of stopped. Tech was center stage, it's been center stage for way too long. And the internet kind of flattened time too. And then you have this mob mentality momentum, which allowed this cancel culture that's done now, thank God. And you had not much new things emerge during that time. And one of the things that was tamped down was satire and comedy. And when you tamp down something like that, society is a balance. It's like any sort of area in nature. Everything that's in that area is important. And you find out the hard way that something was important when you eliminate it. Like if you eliminate a certain insect from the area, then you have a vine that's growing out of control and choking the trees because that vine was the primary food source for the insect. And so satire and comedy are like that. They sort of hem in rather a society. And And that was not around. So there's many other things that we're missing that made our society kind of go like berserko for a little while there. But I think people are hungry for it because they realize it's a necessary nutrient of society, hungry for satire.
So is this, I'm looking up Chesterton's fence. That's what I was thinking. Have you ever heard of Chesterton's fence?
No, tell me about it.
You should familiarize with this. It's
a
principle. I'm going to read you what the AI says. I know you love AI.
No, I don't need to hear that. You tell me what you think of it. No, honestly, you tell me what you know of it. I don't need to hear any AI crap out.
Okay. It's essentially, thank you for setting me straight. It's essentially a theory, I think it came from the 19th century, that you shouldn't be hot to change something you don't know anything about. In other words, they're probably, like you're saying, you shouldn't be just rushing to kill the insect because that insect sits in an ecosystem that might, you can think about it, but you better understand that insect might be there for a reason. That's essentially what a Chesterton's fence is. That you shouldn't, a reminder that you should respect the past and respect the status quo, even though you might need to change things. It's not saying don't change things. It's saying don't have something I see a lot of these days with irrational certitude that you must change things. There's certitude. Have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Are you familiar with this? Dunning-Kruger?
Yes.
Dunning-Kruger is,
an ignoble awards. It won an ignoble award one year.
Okay, fair enough. It's essentially the theory that if you know a very little about something, you immediately think you're an expert and you actually know shit. But when you start to learn a lot and you really become an expert, you realize there's so much you don't know shit, and you sort of get an imposter effect. But when people are absolutely certain about everything, you can be sure they're on the Dunning-Kruger curve where they really don't know much. So irrational certitude has been alive and well lately, it seems to me.
That's true. In what I read about that, it gave a good example. It said that if somebody is not very smart, they'll walk into a room of 10 people and they'll assume that they're one of the smartest people in there. Someone who is very smart walks into the room and is not quite sure where they sit in, because they know, like you're saying, they know how much they don't know.
Right. This is, and I don't want to be accused of accusing people of being dumb. That's not the point. The point is know thyself. The point is know where you feel. I feel dumb all the time. I competed in my training with really smart people. Trust me, there are really smart people out there, and they're pretty impressive and pretty interesting. And when you get exposed to some of those, you start to understand kind of where you fit on the spectrum of things. But humility has also been in short supply, I would say.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think basically you just have a lot of, it's fear. You have a lot of people who are they're terrified that they don't matter. They're terrified that, of getting another call from mom and dad asking them when they're going to get married or have kids or get a career or get a job. And I think becoming an activist I think like activists are Martin Luther King and people like that. I think everyone else is like, maybe you're just voicing your opinion about something, really. Like, I'm not one, anytime somebody tries to put that on me, I'm like, no, it's not. So, but if you've called yourself an activist because you're posting certain things on social media, or you start to feel you have a sense of identity and accomplishment, and you're calling people out. And if you're going to succeed at that, the first thing you have to do is get rid of the comedy. So I think it was very specific. It was the revenge of the hall monitors. It was the party poopers, the people who don't get invited anywhere. And finally, they could exact their revenge, really. But bottom line is they don't feel any worth themselves. They don't feel like they matter themselves. And hopefully now that this mob mentality momentum is over, which is necessary in order to do that job of the sort of armchair activist where you're calling people out. I hope that these people now can see their value without that drug. It's sort of like an addict, you know, or an alcoholic. You've just taken the alcohol away from all of these people, and now they're going to have to adjust to a life without
But that's a
that.
good thing. But that's a good
It
thing.
is
I
a
mean,
good
much like
thing.
with treating the alcoholic, that's how you deal with the character issues, the trauma, all the underlying stuff can only come
Right.
up after you remove the drug, right?
True,
And
but
so I like that frame.
often-
I like that
but
frame.
it's often more, I would say comfortable. I don't know if the alcoholic has hit their bottom, rather than the alcohol
Oh.
just being removed. So a lot of these people are going to have a hard time adjusting now to
Interesting.
having to be themselves, having to see what
Yeah.
they are, having to find. But I agree with you. I am excited for them that now they can discover who they really are.
Yeah, I'm reading a book called The True Believer, and it cites a lot of this stuff you're mentioning that about the kind of people that get swept into these movements. And I didn't realize how often this happened in human history. I guess it happens all the time. We're just having our latest version of it. I always thought, this happened in the 20th century, happened in 1790 France, and that's about it. And that's going to over now. Nope, turns out not so.
There's a great book. I can't remember the title right now, Drew, but I'll email it to you or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I've talked about it before. It's about mobs, and it was written in the 1800s, and I pulled it out during 2020 because I'd read it before.
Gustave Le Bon.
No,
Gustave Le Bon.
Another guy.
About incredible, extraordinary. There's The Crowd, A Study of the Popular Mind. Gustave Le Bon. There's
No,
also
that's
extraordinary
not it, but-
popular. Wait,
That's
another
it.
one. Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Extraordinary Popular
Madness of Crowds.
Delusions. Look this. Yeah, Madness of Crowds. Yes, it's a
That's
two.
it.
It's a
Yeah, thank you.
two-volume. Yeah, yeah.
Well, but a different author. That's it. The Madness of Crowds, a different author. Anyway, it goes into like Tulip Mania, the 1600s, with the witch burning and all of this. And I had looked at it
Yeah.
before, but then I picked it up again in 2020 because I looked at it before and thought what you said. Oh, these are just. Oh, that's what people used to be like. We've evolved, though, right? But it's the beginning of 2020 when everybody was flipping out, and I was like, "Oh shit, we're exactly the same. We are not different."
That's
And that momentum,
that is-
I could feel that momentum start. Then I was like, "Oh man,
Yeah.
this won't end until enough individuals decide this is over." Individuals, and that's what the election, earlier. What was it, a month ago, that's what that did. It showed enough individuals were like, no, I'm done with this.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot of things, a lot of moving parts to all of this, and I've been saying lately that look, if in addition to apologies for things you got wrong, I would like everybody to practice apologizing for what you got wrong. I'm looking for things that I got wrong to apologize for. I think it's a very healthy thing, and I want to model that. If you saw me Justine, if you see me getting something wrong, please let me know. I will happily apologize for it. But I will not apologize to the mob. I will apologize to Justine if I've done her wrong. But to that point, I was thinking, those of you who told somebody to mask up between meals, or yelled at their neighbor for having their family over for Thanksgiving, or asked somebody for their papers, which happened to me a few times, where it's screaming at me, "Where are your papers?" All of you would have been prison guards in 1940. That's what you would have been. And you certainly would not have resisted the Nazi movement. You would have been a part of it. You would have been a brown shirt, and you need to look at yourself honestly and admit that to yourself and make sure you correct that. You don't want it. I don't want it. But you showed yourself to be somebody that would get swept into this bullshit in exactly that way. You're part of the brainwash group, and you need to know you're prone to that and make sure it doesn't happen to you again.
Well, I think, I just did a post on my Substack about how one can be attacked by the enemy, the other side, like whatever you want to call it. If you have buttons, you can be hit. You can be attacked in your mind or through other people. And, I think a lot of these people that went along with this momentum were just terrified. So
That's part of the movements. That's always in these movements. Fear is what they play upon.
True.
And I feel bad for them. I'm not angry. I feel bad for them.
But there's a way to get rid of those fears, and oftentimes they're irrational fears. So, I give sort of a step-by-step if they want to go look at that Substack post. It's just called Spirit Level. But yeah, I feel bad for them for that. But there's a way out, there's a way. And it's just anybody who's terrified can get swept up in something like that.
Oh, absolutely. You and I probably could, given the right circumstance. I mean, it could happen. You have to stand guard. Right. I am, where is, I had your, here, yeah, I have the Spirit Level. You want to talk about how it works?
Sure. I go into a little bit in my book, Fame, when I had when somebody criticized me and I decided they were right and I was wrong. And then I had to examine, like, why did I do that? What irrational fear did I have that served as an anchor point for that belief? You know what I mean? Because if I don't have that button, I'll give you an example. Like if you're with a friend and they say, oh, we're going to meet my parents. And the mom says to your friend, like, oh, you're wearing that yellow jacket again. And then the parents go away and then you and your friend go on to dinner. And then your friend says, can you believe my mother? And they're very upset. Can you believe what my mother said? Can you believe she brought up my jacket? And you're like, oh, I don't know. She just said, oh, you're wearing the yellow jacket. But so it didn't hit you. You don't have that button about your mom talking about your clothes. But because your friend does, she has an irrational fear that's a foundation, that is the anchor point for that. And so the enemy can attack your friend through the mom. And people see, like, the attacks are very similar as you carry on in life. Something your mom said to you is like very similar to what your first grade teacher said to you, is very similar to what your boss said to you. And you're like, how can that be? How can they all know about that button? It's not possible. But the enemy knows about that button. So I don't know if that sounds odd to some people, but if you think about it, even if you think about it that way, just as an experiment, it just makes things more clear. So you got to endeavor to get
you're tilting at, I've been working with target addicts and mental health for a long, long time. And you're tilting at something I've been saying for a while, which is that there has been a spiritual vacuum in this country. There's something wrong with the spirit, however you conceive of it. And I feel like you're sort of pointing at that gently.
Oh, this whole oppression over the last 8 years has been very much, I was going to say 100%. I was like 86% spiritual. I mean, it's definitely. People who are familiar with spiritual warfare will know what I'm talking about. But there's a spirit called Jezebel that shuts the mouths of prophets in the Old Testament. She was the wife of one of the kings. Anyway, when you think about it, what prophets do is
Anyway.
Look it up. But they begin new things, right, with what they're saying. They open awareness, they begin new things. And so when you think about it, that really is the spirit that would tamp down on anything new happening in a society. Not just what prophets are saying, but what new things. I mean, just look, like I said, just look at culture. I mean, why do you think like the whole film business is just reboots and rehashings like for a solid 15 years? There's some exceptions, of course, but when's the last time we had that? Like that's unique, I feel like, to the last 15, 20 years. Anyway, so, I could say more about what you do with that spirit, but one of the things I said is like just enough individuals just said, okay, enough with this. I want to move on. I want something new. And so the momentum.
You drop profundities and move on. So I'm going to not let you do too much of that without drilling a little bit. So is this sort of is this a religious spirituality, or where do you locate that spiritual deficit?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this is just my take on religion. Religion can be good. It couldn't be sort of organizational for somebody. It can be organizational for them, not only in the way they're trying to get an idea of God, but also within the community. Some churches are great
Right.
at taking care of those in the community and all this. But the trouble comes with, and this happens quite often, people trying to twist scripture and religion for their own end. And so that's where a lot
You're
of
back to the enemy again.
well, that's exactly what operates through that. There's actually there's one. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Bibles that do this, but there's a Bible, if anyone's interested, called the Spirit-Filled Life Bible by Jack Hayford, who ran Church on the Way in Van Nuys, California. Anyway, it has definitions to all these words like sin. And you look at that was the first one I looked up, and I went, "Are you kidding me? That means to miss the mark." Like in the Greek, I was like, "Are you joking?" Like all this time, Anyway, it makes it, certain church leaders have made certain words seem like sort of terrible indicators of how awful you are, which is not what those words mean. So anyway, that's helpful. And that Bible version also has historical context for for all the books that were written and stuff. So that's really useful too. Anyway, so religion can be good for some, but the most important aspect of religion, if it's going to be useful, is to facilitate a relationship between an individual and God. And whatever they want, if you can call it higher power, or you're going to call it nature or the sun, whatever, it's so long as it's something that you believe, or you're going to take the chance and believe completely cares about you, knows everything about you, will never leave you, will always give you wisdom, will always help you, and you're good to go, and oftentimes, and then I feel like then you're able to get rid of the buttons, because then you're able to get rid of these irrational fears, because you can swap an irrational fear for a belief that you're going to be okay. Whatever that irrational fear is, it's usually about
take the fear and it's push the
that
fear
you're
to
not going to
faith.
be okay.
Yeah.
But there's lots of aspects to that.
Yeah, and of course I've been dealing with people who've been in spiritual crisis for many, many years, and there's lots of versions of that, but it does help to have a spiritual program of some type. Really helps people when they're in trouble. And so when you were talking about these people that have their fix taken away from them, they're going to do something. And a lot of it is trauma and victimization and all these things. But again, these are things you can choose to deal with in different ways rather than acting out. And so much of the mob stuff has been an acting out. And I completely agree with you. When it all started, I was like, where are the comedians? Why aren't they making fun of this? Well, they were scared too. They were completely frightened of cancellation. And it is the mob action that prevented the culture from moving. I think you're right. I think the culture got frozen because people were so scared to do anything.
Yeah, and kind of rightly so. There were a lot of examples made of other people.
Yes.
It was not for nothing. Like I said, that momentum necessary was there.
I think we should remember that Dave Chappelle gave us permission to bring comedy back. I really think he was the breakthrough moment. He did that. But I have to take a break, Justine. I know we got a lot more to talk about. We got to get into why you reject AI and why you want to read an AI and why you have strong feelings about that and what it's doing to the entertainment industry and film industry in particular. And again, other than X, is there a place you want people to go to find you?
Yeah, you just go to my Substack. I'm going to do a kind of talk show, whatever. I don't know what to call it yet. Side-by-side video, just chatting with people. And also I'll be showing my 2 new films, Feel and Look, after they premiere at the film festival. Those will show on my Substack exclusively.
If you're a paid member, yes?
If you're paid,
for everybody. Paid member. All right, we'll be right back after this. The Wellness Company knows that taking charge of your family's healthcare is a top priority, and being rationally ready, and who knows what the future will hold for us. Now TWC has a service to cover your family's medical needs, including and especially prevention. For just $100 a month, the One Wellness Elite membership includes 2 free medical-grade nutraceuticals per month, free prescriptions for over 800 of the most common medications, access to concierge telemedicine, available at a moment's notice, and a 15% discount on all supplements and the emergency kits. 15% off the emergency kits. That's quite a saving. So if you're spending $100 or more on supplements and meds every month, this plan will already save you money. If you sign up for a year, you'll save $200. And when you use the link, drdrew.com/CWC, you'll get 10% off the first payment to the One Wellness Elite membership. Check out One Wellness at drdrew.com/TWC and get 10% off your first payment. drdrew.com/TWC. It's all there.
Now, if you want to see stars, you have to watch them dance, dive, or go to rehab with Dr. Drew.
Dr. Pinsky told me that you are having some issues.
He says I'm depressed.
Are you?
Dr. Drew.
And I want to remind everyone to go to Paleo Valley for the holidays. Of course, their beef sticks and the bone broth make great stocking stuffers. Go to drdrew.com/Paleo Valley for 15% off your first order, 20% off when you subscribe. The protein sticks are great, as we said. They come in various taste. You can find someone for everyone: beef, venison, grass-fed, finished, and by the way, there are, of course, 5 varieties of beef sticks. All, again, great stocking stuffers. Paleo Valley also has pasture-raised chicken, pork, all low in calories, high in protein, dense in nutrients, free of chemicals or processed ingredients. They are superior to other jerkies, and they are delicious. I suggest you stock up your own holiday travels, and we can tell you how many times we have been so glad we had the sticks handy when we've been stuck on the road or on a plane or something. Stock up, send gifts, share healthy snacking with people you care about, and don't forget the bone broth. They have the multi-purpose salted caramel bone broth. There's a bag right here, right now. No, I had it right here. Go to drdrew.com. We love this stuff. Every day we're drinking, and Susan does not miss a day without this stuff. Paleo Valley, 15% off. drdrew.com/Paleo Valley for 15% off your first order, 20% off when you subscribe. We are talking to Justine Bateman. You can see her on X by the same name. Credo23filmfest.com and justinebateman.substack.com. And I appreciate you being here, Justine. I appreciate you sharing your ideas with us. We had mentioned before the break that we would go into a little bit of your disdain. I'm not sure it's a strong enough word. Concerns, I guess, would be a better way of framing it, about AI. What are your concerns?
Well, to me, generative AI is one of the worst ideas we've ever had, in the sense that it will be used primarily by people who are looking to eliminate contact with, employment of, the care of other people. It doesn't make, about entertainment in particular, it doesn't make better films. It's not being used in the film business because, it will, usher in a whole new wave of incredible films that will change our lives. No, it's being used in the entertainment business because it's cheaper and faster than using people, period. And the insulting aspect of it and the criminal aspect of it really is that it is completely based on other people's work. So it can't function without first being fed 100 years of films and TV series.
That's interesting. I didn't know. That's interesting. That it's not a spontaneous creation.
It's like a blender. No, it's like a blender. It can't function without being fed. If you wanted to spit out a novel, but all you fed it are films, it doesn't know what you're talking about. So you got to feed it in millions of books, and then, if you say I want a book about pandas that ride motorcycles. So long as you fed in books about motorcycles and books about pandas and, anything else, it can spit out a Frankenstein spoonful of it. So that's what's truly offensive about it. It's not some new tech. It is like that AI thing you were going to read me. That's simply an algorithm that's gone in and summarized a bunch of stuff that human beings have said about fill in the blank. And it's prone to.
Wasn't the promise though that there would be some sort of spontaneous synthetic component to it?
Like what?
I don't know, something new, something I don't know. I really don't know very little about AI. It's just the fantasy is, it'll create something new. But let me push back on you a little bit just to see what you say. So you don't like that it's again ripping off previous other people's creations, and that it obviates contact and employment between and amongst human beings, which I understand. But let's say it. Let me just say, all technological advancement has capacity to do have that kind of impact, certainly on employment. Would it be accurate to talk about the fact that it is absent creativity? And isn't that really what these projects are supposed to be all about, with creativity?
Look, it's not, the people who are saying that it's a tool, they don't understand human nature at all. And they don't understand greed at all. So it's like, you want to bring generative AI into the film business. It's like putting a bag of money in the corner and going, don't worry, nobody's going to touch it. The CEOs, the heads of studios, the streaming companies, they were never in the film business anyway. It was, they're in the tech business. Of course they're all going to use it. Why wouldn't they? It's just naive to imagine that it will be kept in its place or something. And the thing I dislike most about it is it disrespects, it degrades being a human. That's what I dislike most.
That's the part I'm hearing you. That's the part I was sort of drilling at. Is that the humanity is expunged from this instrument, and I, as a relatively naive person, I can't appreciate what that means. I really can't. And you're trying to sound an alarm, so I'm guessing you come up against a lot of people like me.
There's a lot of people that don't see it that way, but. I'm not sounding the alarm. I'm not trying to stop it. I'm trying to make clear to people that what's happening right now and what will continue to happen. The only way these AI companies can get you to subscribe to their services, right? ChatGPT and the rest, the paid services, is to convince you can't do it. And when you convince people they can't do it, and then you have AI, and I talked about this like over a year ago, being used in insurance companies to deny claims. I talked about that a year ago. And you have, I'm not saying that to justify what that, murder did.
I understand.
But you have that happening. You have people losing their jobs over it. You have it infecting schools, which I think is absolute child abuse. We're going to have the dumbest collection of adults in about 15 years that have ever walked the earth. Because not only will they not know how to write for themselves or do any of these other things that we value in society now, they also won't know how to make butter and chop wood and all the things that people knew how to do in the dark ages. So I don't think generative AI should be nowhere near a school or education. And it dismisses and also lets people off the hook to actually develop themselves and to work. Anything new is going to come out of people. And look back at all of history, all of it, everything we know has come, innovations and ideas and art and music has come through people, hasn't come through an algorithm. And that's not going to change. And what this will do, it proliferates enough. You won't see this whole kind of the spiritual pressing down that proliferated because of the cancel, the mob mentality momentum, that will increase. But the good news is that there are people like myself, filmmakers who are dedicated to the future of filmmaking, and that's the Credo 23 Film Festival. No AI is allowed, and also all the proceeds after costs go to the filmmakers. But we're making a tunnel through this sort of inferno. And as much as I'm saying this is a bad idea, if you use it, you'll never know what you can do. You're just stopping yourself right there. You'll never know what you can do as far as research on your own. You'll never know what you can do as a writer. You'll never know what you can do as a filmmaker. Anything, fill in the blank, anything. You'll never find out what you can do. And you'll never have those new ideas coming through you out into society. But as much as I'm saying this, I'm not trying to stop it. I'm just going to point at people while they're doing it. You know, these CEOs that are making this happen. These maniacs, like Sam Altman. And listen how they talk. When you hear how they talk, they are saying this is spiritual, this is this. And when you think about it, they're trying to create a type of antichrist. Now go with me for a second on this. They're promising always be with you, right? You have like AI, you don't even have to experience grief. You can have you feed your dead relatives photos and videos and voice into an app, and you can have mom who died last year talking to you every day on an app, right? Always with you, always there for you, can always give you wisdom. It's not really wisdom, it's just rehashed idea, Wikipedia entries and Reddit posts all chopped up together and refed to you. It can love you. I mean, go read Mark Andreessen's like, this is how AI is going to save the world. Every single category he talks about is like it's like a plot to a horror movie, including Megan. That's in there. You know, it'll take care of your kid and love your kid and, help them with their homework and all of this. It really is. Go check it out.
My wife's interested
Can I get some of that?
Megan?
We had I don't know if you're we had triplets, and so anything that helps take the heat off, we're like, okay, really, we're in. So,
I don't know if I did a good enough job.
yeah. That's really funny.
Anyway, so bad idea. But at the same time, and this is where people's cognitive dissonance, increases on me. There are a lot of structures in our society now, in education, in politics, in entertainment, where the people that were in charge of these structures did not allow any growth or movement. And again, look at the 20th century. We had growth and movement every single decade, right? It occurred, it moved, changed it, right? Well, the last 15, 20 years, we haven't had that, right?
20 years,
the answer we can see was, well, then we have to break them. So Donald Trump is being utilized, big picture, right? Being utilized to break that structure, and new things will come through it in politics. Generative AI is being used to break the entertainment business, and new things will emerge through it. What is going to emerge because the entertainment business structure is being broken, is going to be a new genre, something that's been delayed for 20 years. And I'm so excited for it. Like my whole reason I was born is for this thing that's emerging now on the other side.
That's nice to see that you see this as a positive thing ultimately. Can you express to me a little more what you mean by the spiritual pushing down? What did you mean? I mean, can you help us understand what that is exactly? Because I think you're still talking about that here with this too.
In a different way. This has to do with the breaking of structures so that new things can pop up. And certainly that pressing down that we had over the last 8 years was very helpful to keep that structure pressed down and keep everything the same. Everything is same. Also making people feel like whoever's got their own personal brand or whatever, the influencers or whatever, the idea that they need to stay the same. Because you have advertisers where it's a lot easier to sell to people if they stay the same. Anyway, not to go off on a tangent, but a lot of people invested in maintaining a particular brand, which is not how we're supposed to function. So the pressing down was just used. I mean, the way that was able to come in and press down on us was that we had a lot of fear, and and Drew, maybe you've come across this. Suddenly we had this worship of victimhood, and that really gave
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot
Yeah.
to all of this, because suddenly,
But that apparently that's a common thing in these mass movements. Apparently that's in there. I was reading about it and I was like, wow, there it is. Same kind of thing.
yeah, because, in the past and now going forward, you'll have what's this quote here? Will you read it to me? I can't
I
see
know we
it.
can't see it,
So,
Caleb.
this is,
What is that? What do you
Justine.
got?
This is a quote that you had posted from Michael Schellenberger about
Yeah,
being out.
Schellenberger posts. He's a good guy to follow too. Yeah, it's really interesting. This Victor. So in
what's
the past,
in it? Wait, what's in the quote? Hang on a second. What is the
So-
what is in the
out
quote,
loud, I
Caleb?
can't say it.
Yes, the quote that from
Yeah, we can't
Justine's
see
part,
that.
it says, "It is quite gratifying to feel guilty if you haven't done anything wrong. They are trying to escape from the pressures of very present and actual problems into a cheap sentimentality." And she says it's a perfect explanation of motive for the now defunct woke army.
Yeah, and Michael, but that quote is from what Michael was
Yeah, it's
quoting,
something
and I
else.
don't know what
Yes.
that book is.
I think
I'm
it's what the
trying to
book I'm
see,
reading. It sounds so familiar to me. It sounds exactly like the True Believer book.
Arendt,
Oh no,
Arendt.
he's talking about he's talking about Hannah Arendt. Yeah, it's Hannah Arendt. It talked about cheap sentimentality. Yeah, that was Hannah Arendt. Yes.
Yeah, because think about it. The fact that everybody made victimhood, it was like in the past and now going forward, if you've got something going on that's blocking you from really being yourself, and that's the goal, right? Everything I'm saying, the relationship with God, the whole thing, the whole goal is to become the most yourself as possible. Because when you do
Yes.
that, you get rid of the fears that keep you from that, then man, we all benefit. You're living a full life and everybody benefits from whatever is now freely flowing through you because
That's right.
is the
That's right.
okay. So in the past, if you had something that was blocking you from that, or now going going forward, you would go to a therapist or 12 steps or whatever works for you, and you would get at the root
Mhm.
reasons and get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened with this whole woke thing, the way that started, is people started, and I would have to give some thought on exactly how I did a post on the Victim Olympics, but how exactly the championing the victim, like making that aspirational. And I think it has to do, just off the top of my head now, I think it has to do with seeing people getting attention for truly having Asperger's or truly, it was the whole Me Too thing, right? It was that. And that's what I write about in
That was a early chapter. That was an early chapter, right? I think there's probably stuff before that, though, I suspect.
That's why I wrote, this says how the Me Too movement became the Me Too moment. And that was people seeing attention being paid to other people that had these very unfortunate situations. And then wanting to participate in the conversation, but not being able to. And if you're prone to feeling left out, this moment in history is going to be the worst moment you could have been in, because it's so very easy to feel left out. All you have to do is open X or Facebook or whatever. And you're like, I don't qualify for the trending hashtag. How do I be a part of this? Then they started lowering the bar for qualifying for that. And then you had people, that's it. And then you had people wanting to hold on to that as if it was a badge on a Girl Scout sash. I have this invisible disability and this, and I was this, and I was this, and I was this, and not wanting to fix it, not wanting to go to therapy or 12-step program or anything, or get at the root of it, because they're getting attention because of these illnesses, if you will. It was truly Munchausen syndrome. For a lot of people. And they felt that they got more attention and were more important by holding on to these things than they would be if they let go of them. That's how it seemed
I
to me.
want to change gears a little bit. We are kind of running short on time. You and I could talk all day. I have no doubt. Your book on fame. When was that?
Maybe 2017. Is that right?
I feel like you were early to talk about fame. Am I remembering that correctly? And some of the distortions and effects of fame?
Maybe. I mean, it could be. And it goes into what it was like, the life cycle of fame, from beginning, equilibrium, and then the without when it goes away, So I experienced the full life cycle. And some people like Brad Pitt, you go to equilibrium and he'll die at the equilibrium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have that.
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah.
But then also how we democratize.
Taylor Swift still has a positive slope to all her stuff. Just keeps getting
Could be,
bigger. It's crazy. But she's so young and who knows? But whatever. Anyway, I get your point. So keep going.
Yeah. And then how people democratize the seeking of fame. And they started quantifying people's value instead of qualifying it, instead of qualifying it by saying, oh, this person's a beautiful violinist and they do good for others, or I don't know, however they're qualifying it. And they start quantifying it by saying, oh, you have X number of followers or retweets or whatever.
Right.
And
that's all just a measure of fame. It's all just a measure of fame itself, not a reason you. And I did some studies on this, and the most narcissistic people were the ones that were reality show, and it was before the social media. I'm sure the same applies. But people that were like news journalist or cellist or violinist, low narcissism, their fame was just a feature of their ability. They didn't seek it separately from what they were doing as a profession.
Right.
Interesting, right? I just wonder if you had any other thoughts on, because this somehow, to me, the whole fame-seeking, fame phenomena dovetails into this conversation we're having. I'm not sure I have a clear thought about it yet, but I was wondering if you did.
Well, when you think about it, you used to just be who was going to know about you if you were doing anything? I mean, unless you were on national television or in a movie or in a political arena, how would anyone know if you're in Boise, Idaho or wherever? Like, how is anyone going to know whatever you're doing? And social media really completely changed that. You can be anybody, anywhere, and suddenly you're a huge hit doing something. Maybe that is of great value, and maybe it's great because, we found you, and otherwise we wouldn't have known about you over there in Boise, Idaho. But for a lot of people, it's just I think they almost divest themselves of the seeking of their true gifts and talents in favor of possibility of becoming famous, if only for a day, by tweeting something that got everybody, angry or something. And I think that's a shame only because we then don't get to find out, if they're spending so much energy doing that, then we don't get to find out what their true skills and talents are. And as a society, we miss out.
So when I think about what you've done, your brother's done, there's so much quality and creativity in what you guys do. Were you raised around creative? What was your family of origin like? I have no idea.
I was definitely raised amongst taste, good comedy, good films, good lighting,
proper lighting,
proper lighting. Definitely around
if you
taste.
if you follow Justine's ex, you'll know what I'm talking about.
I definitely, my camera's stable. I am at eye level. I have lighting on myself. Yeah. Right. I don't want to get
camera level, Susan. That's another one she's way into.
I don't want to have to critique myself. Yeah.
She doesn't like this shot. She doesn't like this shot. And she doesn't like this shot. So.
Or backlit. Think it through.
Yeah.
Look at your frame before you start recording. It's easy enough to turn yourself around so the window is behind your camera and the light is on you, right?
I've got a wife that makes Susan.
Amen.
She's way into that, and I would be one of your critiques if I were left to myself. I've got somebody that carefully
What's the up the nose double chin look. Like here's my chin.
That's Justine's favorite.
Yeah.
You think about it, they are looking at themselves while they record it. So it's not that they're where, and then they are posting it. So they looked at it before they posted it. I mean, there's just, I don't know where to start with that. You can see what you're doing.
Well, listen, we are about out of time. I want to give Caleb and Susan a chance to crack at you if they have any questions. This has been really fun and really interesting. I'm tempted to talk a little tulips with you too, just so we can talk a little bit about hysterias. But Susan, anything on your front?
That Hawk Tui lady was bad. But anyways, I love I mean, how do we make that popular? But I like the thing you say about how we repeat, like Hollywood repeats itself. Like that always drives me crazy. It's like, can we just do something different, And is AI going to make it worse? Like, we have to watch the same TV show in a different form because it was popular. Sure. The creative side.
What's that, Justine?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, that is what they're going to do. Yeah.
We're stuck in it for a while.
Yeah, and I can't stand that.
Hold on.
Yeah, but no, new things. I'm saying, like, yeah, you're going to see a lot of, discomfort and destruction here, but awesome things. Like, I've just made 2 films that are of that flavor of this new genre. And these are the kinds of films we're trying to pick for the Credo 23 Film Festival as well. No AI, and also, like, we're looking for, like, kind of fresh looks at things. Because the shame of it is that a lot of, we don't have a lot of new filmmakers doing new things, because they look at sort of the landscape, the professional landscape, like, what kinds of things are they going to be hired to do? And a lot of the new films you'll see look like auditions in order to direct content, which is not filmmaking. And I really encourage, if there are any filmmakers listening to this, like, do what you're supposed to do. Otherwise, you won't be on your path, and none of us will be able, something is supposed to come through you, and you're going to be eliminating the possibility of us enjoying that. You've got to do what you're supposed to do, and don't worry, like, you'll be able to make a living. If you're on your right path, you'll be able to make a living. Don't be afraid.
One of the analogies I've been thinking about in recent years is Galileo and the Spanish Inquisition. And we have been under, your idea of the sort of spiritual pressure is like having been under the influence of the Spanish Inquisition. The historical memory of that body is this horrific, the Grand Inquisitor and the auto da fe and all this stuff. But in reality, they were just an academic board. They were just a legal board, sort of an academic panel that when they evaluated Galileo's, they said, you might be onto something, but damn, if you're right, all of our biblical interpretation goes away, and we're not really ready for that right now. So why don't you just shut up? And so they that's all it was. And we've got a lot of that kind of thing going on lately. And which side do you want to be on, the Spanish Inquisition or Galileo's? And both with science and creative endeavors, I'd suggest you be on the side of Galileo, but go ahead.
Yeah, but Drew, there's an interesting thing there. So yes, what you just said also ties into, in biblical times in New Testament, the Pharisees were like not wanting, because everything Jesus was saying took away their professional positions, right?
Absolutely.
So what we have here ties into some of the stuff you're bringing up about fame. It ties into, like, God damn it, I want to be famous. God damn it, I want to shine. I want to be out there. I want people to notice me. What if I'm just invisible? What if I'm just nothing in Boise, Idaho, and nobody's ever going to see anything that I ever do? What if I don't matter? And then seeing that there are some people that, this is just how it is. There's nothing you can do about it. There's some people that are gifted at organizing. There are people that are gifted at filmmaking. There are people that are gifted at music. And if you're not, it can be very frustrating because that looks like a very easy way to become famous. But like you said, it's just a byproduct of you actually doing your skill or talent. And so a lot of these people, it was a very, especially in LA, a very heavy, like hall monitor presence. Debbie Downer, hall monitor, party pooper, if I'm not going to let you, I want everybody who's going to have a party, just shut up. You can't do it. And I'm going to call you out if you do it. Nobody can make anything new. That is that comedy that is insulting to this type of people and that type of people and that type of people and that type of people, and it's offensive and it's ableist and it's this and it's that, and it's like, and they had the momentum to shut people up. So I feel like it was not, you're going to ruin my current position like it was Spanish Inquisition or the Pharisees. But I feel like this one was, I see an opportunity to shine.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
With my invisible
Less
visibility,
institutional.
with
But
my
more
back.
mob, less institutional. Yeah.
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 I see an opportunity to shine beyond you, and I want to take that action. And the only way I can succeed is if I make sure I shut all of you up. I can't make this happen unless I do. And that's what we had for 8 years.
So I would suggest everybody check out Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds. It's not an easy read, by the way. It's kind of old. It's an old book, and it reads a little choppy, and a lot of interesting history in there. I'm reading a book called The True Believer. It's very interesting. You might look at even Eric Larson's book about the early 1930s, where you see the early Nazi movement, how that got going. And then Gustave Le Bon, The Crowd, where you study the 1790 French Revolution. We've been through, or maybe probably still going through something that warrants us all kind of being aware of it, thinking about it, adjusting, your own thoughts and feelings about it. If you've been someone that you think might have been swept into stuff, I don't want to judge people for being a human in this time. 70% of people in mass formations just want to be left alone, and 10% or 5 or 10% throw the BS towel, and 20% are brainwashed. And if you have a tendency to be brainwashed, you should know that about yourself if that's what happened to you. And if not, you were in the 70% just wanted to get along. It's hard. It's hard to stand up when it's so dangerous. I get it. It is really hard. It was dangerous, Justine. It was dangerous. Yeah, it really was.
And people want to, my film Violet is kind of a map to, if you're someone who makes fear-based decisions and don't want to do that anymore, it's sort of a map. It stars Olivia Munn and Justin Theroux. It's a map to go from a fear-based decision life to a instinct-based decision life.
Right.
Also, there's if I got filmmakers in here or artists or anything, there's a Tarkovsky book, Andrei Tarkovsky, the director. And I'm just looking up Something in Time. If you guys, Architect of Time. No, maybe you guys can look it up. But
Caleb's really good at it. Caleb, you see a Tarkovsky, Something of Time.
That's a fantastic book to be reading about. It really captures like this new creative era we're going right now.
Time Within Time? The Diaries?
No, Andrei Tarkovsky, the director.
Yeah, that's the name of one of his books. Let me see if I can find the other one.
I'm trying to look it up.
Sculpting in Time.
Yes, thanks. Sculpting in Time. That's a terrific book to read at this moment as well, for any artists out there.
Excellent. Justine, exceeded my expectations. I knew this would be fun. I appreciate all the laughs you've given me on X, and I'll check out the Substack, and I hope everyone else will as well. They're Sculpting in Time. There it is. Andrei Tarkovsky. Anything else before we wrap it up, Justine?
Hey, if anybody, the Credo 23 Film Festival is the end of March. If anybody wants to come, we have badges on sale, and it's going to be fun. It's in one place, so we're not all spread out. We'll all be together for the 2.5 days here in Hollywood at the beautiful American Legion Hall, Post 43, which is by the Hollywood Bowl. It's going to be
on Hollywood Boulevard by the Hollywood Bowl, or on what street is that? Highland by the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, exactly.
Hollywood. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Thank you so much, and hope we'll see you again very soon. We still have to finish our tulip conversation.
Oh yeah, tulip mania. Mm-hmm.
Tulipomania. There it is. Thanks, Justine. Appreciate it.
Okay,
and for the rest of you, let's you put up our upcoming guest schedule here and see who's coming. What they have booked for me. Matthias Desmet and Dr. Aaron Cariotti coming in on the 12th. That should be very interesting. Tom Wren's coming back. Matt Waltz.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow is that Robert Barnes and Aaron Day.
Yes.
And then
Robert
you have
Barnes.
your show. Susan, want to talk about
My show's
that?
early tomorrow. Mine's at 12 o'clock.
Oh, so I'll be at 3. Yes, 3 o'clock.
Yes.
And you want to talk about what you're doing?
We're going to do a historical and psychic look into Laurel Canyon history.
He's,
Drea De Matteo. She lives in a famous house.
oh, that's right. Drea's coming back. Drea is always good. You don't
We're
want to
going
miss
to talk
her.
to all the dead people that used to live in her house.
Is she coming into the studio or she?
No, she's
Okay.
going to.
She's probably doing it from
Emily
her
Hagen,
haunted home.
her haunted house. Yeah.
Excellent.
So it's not haunted. I don't know if it's haunted, but she's Emily
Historical home.
Hagen is the woman, the writer that I had on previously with Eddie, the psychic. And she's doing a deep dive into the history. And then because she's a millennial, she didn't live during those days. So that's interesting to her. But we also have this new psychic who I think is pretty cool from New York calling in. So
Excellent, guys. Caleb, thank you.
we
Anything,
might give Caleb a psychic reading.
Caleb, anything on your front? Before I wrap it all up?
No, I just wanted to
Streams and stuff.
Yeah, no, we actually had a lot of viewers on YouTube today, strangely enough, and on X.
Nice.
We're really growing
Interesting.
over there. It's wild. But I was thinking, it was
Yeah, X is
strange to me.
good.
I'm surprised that you're not much more familiar with AI stuff. So it was interesting to hear from you that
Me?
it's kind of, I'm actually surprised because it seemed like,
I
Yeah.
the way people's
Here's my
brains
thing.
works. And
No, listen, my son is into it. I do not use ChatGPT ever. Like literally, I've never used it. And generative AI, I sort of look at it a little, I sort of watch the conversations that are out there, but I
Right.
feel like it's all changing so fast. Why should I dig into it while it's sort of evolving?
Right.
What I just brought up to Justine was, I always thought the fantasy, I guess, about AI is that it would have some component of human spontaneity, at least in a cognitive level. And she's saying no. So if that's true, then I'm not really that interested, frankly. So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing
But
the
you
boat
just
here.
want to know when you're being hoodwinked by AI.
Well,
I get hoodwinked by a lot of things and a lot of people
Yeah.
all the time. So yeah, I
think
do.
it's
But
partially
but I
because of how it's being used right now. It's kind of, if you think about it, how a screwdriver is a tool. A screwdriver can be used to poke someone's eye out, or it can be used to build a hospital. It can be used for a lot of different things.
Yes.
But it's like the way that
Yes.
generative, from what I understand, the way that it works is the concept in my head is I think of it as like you have 3 professional chefs, professional 5-star chefs that each cook a meal like steak, lasagna, and a chocolate cake, right? And then somebody walks into the restaurant and says, I want a pepperoni pizza. So then the manager of the restaurant, who's not even the chef at all, throws all of those chef-made delicious gourmet meals into a blender, mixes that up, and then rearranges all the little molecules of that mush until the meat of the steak is like a pepperoni, and the lasagna is just its tomato sauce, and the flour of the cake is just the pizza crust. So you do end up with a pizza, but it's also not really a pizza, and you start to notice that, well, wait, why does my pepperoni also kind of look like pieces of steak sometimes? And it's still not even a steak or a lasagna or chocolate cake,
Let's just say you're not selling it to me.
Right, exactly.
I'm not
That's what I'm trying to say.
interested.
It's like, I get why artists don't like it. It makes sense because in that case, there's literally nothing that's passing back to those 3 professional gourmet chefs that put the original parts together. That was just kind of
saying
scraped
what I was
and
saying,
stolen.
though, is that, but the real creativity is absent, and that's what I feel like is going to be the.
Now,
they
think
can't
about
solve that problem, but maybe they'll solve it.
If we were like 10 years,
I don't know.
Well, so if we were like 10 years in the future from now, right, and this technology was coming out, and there was a way, I'm not really into crypto at all, but if there was a way that could trace every single piece of art that was created, and then how that piece of art was used and mixed up in AI, so that every artist whose little tiny, pixel that they contributed to this AI artwork, if they all got a few pennies for that, and then that at scale, then it would work. But the way it is now is it's like they scraped all of the books that I wrote many years ago. That definitely scrape your books. And so you'll be able to find bits and pieces of like sentences or it's impossible for a regular person to notice it. But that's literally what it is. It's using a computer to smartly rearrange things that they've scraped from millions of cases. So I'm not against, I think it's really tough I don't want to be one of those people that like fights against the progress that I feel like is kind of inevitable, but I also want to have people like Justine that are fighting for there's got to be people that are there that's saying, hey, this cannot just be running free and wild, guys. Right.
Also
exactly.
medicine. You don't want AI to run medicine. Right. But
because,
I remember when I started, I used Chat GPT.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And at the beginning, and I Googled, like, I asked it, what is Dr. Drew's take on the COVID-19, right?
Right.
It said, Dr. Drew Pinsky is very pro-vaccine, and he is a blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it was written by somebody who obviously didn't know him or his feelings, because it was like, I guess they were
written by a person.
They only were
that
caught
wasn't
up
even a person,
to 2020, and it was 2022. So the AI bots didn't have any information on him.
It hallucinates. It's really not reliable for something like that. But let me give a counterpoint to it. I was going to tell this story in a few days, but I was starting to feel sick about 3 or 4 days ago, and I happened to have my wellness company kit that's on hand here, and I was the same illness that I get every 6 months. So what I did is I went into an AI, I loaded in a list of all the ingredients of my TWC kit, I loaded in all of my current medications and supplements that I take, and then I asked it, I said, hey, these are my symptoms. What from my TWC kit would be the best thing for me to take? Now, this is stuff I could find in the instruction booklet that comes with the kit, but this was a much faster way of me figuring it out. Anytime I get sick, I punch in my symptoms, and it tells me exactly which thing to go to. It's kind of like I built my own miniature AI.
Antibiotics to use? Is that what you were thinking?
Look, I don't. Yeah,
anyway, sorry,
there's going to something like that.
There's tools.
By the way,
it can be
something
used
like
as a
that
tool.
is going to. Something like that is going to be the future. On the medicine side, I do believe there will be stuff like that. But you're going to have to be, again, I want to empower patients, and as such, this is part of that process. But I'm not quite sure what the guardrails need to be on that yet. Because so
that's why we need people like Justine.
Good. I'm glad you're better. Yeah, I'm just not sure yet. But it's going to be something like that. Something like that is going to be the future. Because look, medicine is such a disaster right now that we have to do something. And much why she's ringing the bell on the disaster in her industry, and she's very positive as some creative process will come out of it. I kind of feel the same way about medicine because just have to solve these things.
Last thing. Keep in mind, though, that all of the information that the AI was feeding back to me came from instructions that was in the TWC booklet and medications that are already supplements already prescribed. So it's not like it's inventing it.
I get it.
It's finding this stuff, but it relies on human knowledge like you and the other doctors to actually put the information for the source.
Does it take it off the internet, or did somebody put it in the?
No, I created.
This is what we.
I created my own Chat GPT version.
TWC kit instructions. Is it like how does AI get their hands on that?
I put it in. I manually loaded all the instructions in first, and then I had it basically sort through all of that, so I wouldn't have to read through the whole booklet each time. It would tell me, well, this or this, and then in any contraindications with my current meds and stuff like that. Now that's not medical advice, obviously, but it's an interesting way to use a tool.
Now I'm more. That's
smarter than we thought.
Oh, that's a really smart way to do it. Now I'm in. Now I'm like, oh, no, that's a creative way to do it.
If I just gone to Chat GPT and asked my symptoms, that wouldn't be enough. You have to go with the actual expert stuff, plug that in, and then go. So it still needs humans.
I have to go. Our friends from Men's Health are here, and I've got to.
He's going to be a superstar.
Yeah,
Men's
right.
Health.
Hang on here. Let me make sure.
Giving him a plug.
That's the idea. Okay, so we will get going here, and you have all the shows coming up tomorrow at 3 Pacific. Susan on Thursday at noon. Me.
No, I'm coming in tomorrow at noon.
Oh, tomorrow your show's at noon.
Yeah.
Oh, a day early. I'm sorry.
Eddie is coming in, and he can only do Wednesdays.
I'm glad we brought this up. So good.
We're moving our show.
And then because
bit.
my show, by the way, I did not mention this. My show on the 12th, because I'm speaking to Matthias Desmet from Belgium, that will be at 11 a.m.
Right.
So my show will be at 11.
Yeah.
Susan's will be at noon tomorrow. I'll be on again at 3 tomorrow, and we will see you.
Which, by the way, I put a Matthias Cariardi lecture into Chat GPT. So all this information is out in the universe now.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow at noon and then 3 o'clock. See you then. Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.